Welcome to the Devil Dog Day Trade community, everyone. If you haven't seen one of our sessions yet, my name is Michael, and I want to thank you for joining us here as we work together to own our financial goals. We don't need professionals to do the work for us. My goal is to help you learn the essential structure you need to day trade. In episode 4, we will discuss the charting platform setup. At the end of this episode, if you missed out on steps 1 through 3, be sure to revisit the episodes in the Day Trading 101 playlist of our channel. The key components that we'll be going over today are the charting area itself, a watch list, trade execution window, a dashboard view, and then a couple of miscellaneous items that I like to include when I'm doing my chart setups. So let's get into this right away with the charting area. And as you can see on my screen here, the charting area should be a single chart area. Once you get a little bit more experience, you can expand it out. You will notice here at the very bottom of my screen here that there are multiple tabs open. These are different work areas. As I have grown in the day trading area and learned a little bit more about how to do this, I wanted some additional flexibility and functionality in that, but highly recommend that you start with just a single setup. Keep it simple as long as possible. That will help you get more comfortable and help you learn the basics of this before you try and venture out into some of the more complex areas of this. It is broken down into 4 specific time frames, and this is done for a reason. Again, this is the way that I was taught through years and years of analysis and training and feedback from students. This tends to be the way that people can learn the most effectively by keeping it a little bit simple to start with. So we have our daily chart down here in the lower right corner. Lower left is 240-minute chart, upper right is a 60-minute chart, and upper left is a 15-minute chart. Now, this is the order that I like them set up in. Typically, I will go from bottom, left, top, left, and for the time frames as they go down. But again, that's personal preference. Whatever works better for you to set these up in a different order, please go ahead and do that. The reason why we do this is you can see just at a glance here, you can get good context for where price is at overall, so that as an example, if you're looking up here on your 15-minute chart and you're thinking, hey, I want to take a trade here and maybe I want to buy into this market, just at a quick glance you can look down and right on your daily chart and you can see you're at the very top of near an all-time high. You probably don't want to be buying into that, so that just kind of helps get you really good context as you're looking through each one of these charts. And then when you want to get a little bit more deeper dive into it, you just expand the chart out and that gets you into kind of the bigger overall view, a look around in it, and just allows a little bit more detail to be shown. And of course, most charts start with also have a zoom feature on them. And what I did find early on in my time of day trading, this was actually where I started that. I started looking at these charts zoomed in. It helps me see the formations a little bit better. And then as time goes on, you can either reduce the zoom or at the end, when you feel comfortable, get rid of it, because your eyes are going to be drawn to these areas naturally, and you'll start seeing that this more close in view. Again, when you're done with each individual chart, you just shrink it down and you've got your overall picture again here. As you continue with this and get more comfortable with it and start expanding it out, I highly recommend that you start by adding higher time frame charts on first, maybe a monthly view, maybe a weekly view, and then if you really want to get more detailed, go into the lower intermediate time frames, like a 120-minute or 180-minute or even a 30-minute, something like that. So again, keep it simple. One single work area to start with, 4 time frames, the daily, 240, 60, and 15 minutes. Next thing we want to talk about is the watch list. And this is what you have over here on the far right-hand side of my screen. And this is just an area that you can keep track of all of the securities and symbols that you either actively trade or are interested in and maybe learning, or just that you have there to help set context. This allows you to pare down the list of hundreds and hundreds of symbols out there to the ones that you're really interested in. Some charting platforms offer either just a static view, which is if the symbols just show up over here but aren't interactive, and then you would have to type the individual symbol for each chart as you open it up. I like to set it up to be interactive so that, as you can see here, when I click on the symbols, those populate into each of the charts automatically. It just makes things work a little bit more quickly, a little bit more seamlessly, and it uses my time in a better manner. Also, you'll see here that they are broken down into specific areas. Again, I find this helps me just be a little bit more efficient with my time, a little bit more structured, and I can know where to go. So just a couple of ideas off the top here. You've got index futures, because I actively trade those, are at the top of the list. Other futures that I trade actively are below that. Futures that I may not trade or may not care about are here, but I just want to be able to have access to when asked for. I've got a reference section, a couple of Forex symbols that I track, and then on down through the list, and you can kind of get an idea of, just some areas or some ways that you can organize this. Again, do whatever matters to you. But again, always keep this on your main chart and try with every platform that you use to make it interactive. It just helps you maneuver more quickly through this and save a little bit of time. Moving on to a trade execution window. I do this as a separate window within each of the platforms that I use. I try and keep it as simple as possible. And so I have it as a completely separate window. That also allows me to put the trades in on this window while looking at the charting window at the same time, so I don't have to either write things down and make a mistake or try and remember what the numbers were and make a mistake there as well. The three main components of the trade execution window. The first one is, and the one that I recommend always start with, is the manual trade entry. So whatever charting platform that you're using, make sure that this is accessible to you. And the reason why I do that is when you do it this way, you have to manually type in each one of your areas, your entry point of your trade, the stop market order for your trade, and the target for it. This helps you be a little bit more precise, a little more structured, and a little more methodical about it, so that you're thinking through each one of those as you're putting them in. Again, highly recommend that you start using this process, and only when you're more comfortable, have done a few trades, somewhere between like 30 to maybe even up to 100 trades in this manner, then move over to a quicker, more efficient manner. Again, this will help save you money by, again, forcing you to think through it a little bit more and not just do things on the fly. There's two other ways that you typically enter trades in, and that is this window right here. Hang on, let me bring that up for we can go ahead and cut this part out. Somehow that window went away. Bring it back up again. Okay. Another way to enter trades is through this area you see on the left part of this window. This is either called a matrix or a depth of market window. And this shows you where price is at right now, and you have the bid size and the ask size. This is your buy column. This is your sell column. You can set the specifics of your trade up, the quantity of it, where you want your automatic stop market and targets to be at, and then you literally just click in this area here, as you can see, and it populates, so this is a buy order. I've got my stop set down here, the targets are up above, and then I can adjust the trades, here off to just dragging each one of these. Very efficient, very timely. However, you can make mistakes much more easily on here since you're not thinking through each of the numbers each time. The third option here for entering trades is to actually put them directly on a chart. So that's this window here, and you just click on either the buy market or sell market, and then it would add your stop and your target to it automatically, putting it straight into the window itself. Again, faster trades, but more prone to making mistakes with them. So again, highly recommend that you start with putting the orders in separately themselves first, and then move on to these other two means once you get more comfortable with it. Continuing on from trade execution, we have the dashboard area. This is basically a screen that you set up when you want to just monitor how things are going. You're not actively charting, you're not actively trading. Maybe you're doing some other work and you have this sitting on a different monitor or a different part of your work, your normal workstation area. And what I do is just have the most often traded securities or the ones that are relevant to what the overall market may be doing. So in this case, what you'll see on the top, I would have all of my 4 major index markets. In the middle here, I've got reference markets like the dollar index here on the left. You got the euro here, the Nikkei, a bonds one in the middle, and on the bottom I have kind of actively traded commodities futures that I look at as well. Again, these will all be personal preferences, but this just gives you, at a glance what the markets are doing. Will tell you if there's something that you need to go look into a little bit more, or something that you need to pay attention to. I've set the time limits for the time frames for each of these at 15 minutes. This is a good balance for me. I don't want to put it on a minute by minute, because that'll, prices will be jumping all over the place, and I'll feel obligated to jump in and look at something. It's a waste of time. But 15 minutes really kind of gives you a good overall picture of what's going on, but then shows you if there's any significant movement that you want to take advantage of there. As far as miscellaneous goes, one note here. I try and always keep what I call a tools workspace available to me, and this is what mine looks like right now. As you can see, it's a bit of a hodgepodge of things. I use that term because this is a kind of a test area. If I read about something new, or look up something new, or hear about something new, I'll put it in my tools workspace to test it out, play with it, and then once I determine whether it's going to work or not, if it's not going to work, I just delete it from here. If it's going to work, I'll add it to one of my other workspaces. So always have just this work area that you can practice with, that you can use to play with things that you don't know if you're going to use yet, particularly like simulation or testing, etc. So I'll always have a good workspace that you can use for that, so you're not messing up your standard workspace. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this discussion, please comment. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming learning videos. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope to see you soon.